Hey guys, thank you so much for coming again to watch this video. First of all, big apology, I think, because I was trying to stream this week on YouTube, and it just did not work. And you guys were so gracious, so really gracious for putting up with me, especially you guys on the Discord. We ended up having a little bit of a stream room chat actually instead, which was awesome. It's just, it's awesome to be part of a community like that. It's like family in there. You guys rock. You really do. So yeah, apologies out of the way. Let's get straight into the video. So today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a look at two libraries. And I'm not really one for comparison, but I want to make a point in this video. So yeah, I want you to comment in the bottom which library you prefer out of a piece that I've wrote. I've wrote it and I've arranged it for both of these libraries, and you'll be able to actually take a listen and see which one you enjoy more. And it might help you in the future, but hopefully it might give you a little bit more of an idea on how to use libraries when you've got more than one, and maybe how to purchase libraries as well in the future. It might just give a little bit more of a foundation on how to mix libraries together. Okay, so those two libraries are Studio Orchestra. So it's kind of like a cheat really, but it's the Studio Orchestra core, but the strings are upgraded because you just get a little bit more versatility. And I felt like using that part of the string of the orchestra was a little bit more fair on BBCSO because there's just so much in BBSO. So yeah, and it cost around about the same as well. If you think of core, and then you've had to pay for the cheaper one as well. So yeah, it's roughly ish, not really around the same price, I think. So yeah, and the second one, which I've just given away, is BBCSO Core. So yeah, we're going to compare them and see what we think. So yeah, I'm going to say what I think as well at the end of the video. So stick around if you want to. Then if you just want to jump and just not listen to the piece and just make me cry, then you can do. The timestamp is down below as well. But yeah, let's take a listen. See you on the other side. Okay, so you have made it through two different versions of the same track. So I thank you very much for that. You were very, very gracious and very, very patient. I'd love to know what you think about both the libraries below. But here is what I think. Okay, so my favorite sound of the sound of the library, just all in encompassing of both of them, is actually the studio orchestra. So you might be saying, well, why, Jeff? Why? They both sounded great. And somebody might say, hey, the BBCSO sounded really good. Well, I'll tell you why. It's just because there was more detail. And I think I'm just a sucker for detail. However, I don't think that in a professional setting, at least, you could do without either of the libraries. If these were the two libraries that you had, then there are amazing libraries that you can mesh together. And I would just want to make a really big point about using libraries to their strengths. So typically what you would do is you would have a dry library, which is harder to mix, and a wet library, which is easier to mix, sounds nicer out the box, makes you feel happy. Usually the wet library is what you start with, and then you add other elements in. So in a later video, what I'll do is I'm just going to upload the same track finished. It is finished now, but what I mean is I'm going to be adding the elements from both of them that I like and I think shine best, and then make the piece what I feel in my soul it should be. So yeah, that'll be really, really exciting. But yeah, let's just talk very, very quickly about why you might want to do this, to take a dry library and a wet library. Well, with a wet library, what you have is you have something that sounds really, really good, but usually doesn't have too much detail. And in BBCSO, that's no different. It is very, very, very detailed. But it's still a wet library. And when you add hall reverb, whether it be a real room sound like in this case or a synthetic sound, what you do is you mask some of that detail. You mask some of that loveliness. And in the dry library that I've used, you will notice that I've added a room sound to it, and I've added some reverb just to kind of just give it a little bit more of a footing in that area, not to make it sound better, but just because it just glues everything together. And I think that's one thing that BBCSO Core has over the studio orchestra. But the studio orchestra is designed that way, so you can add it to things, or if you wanted just to take that room sound away, you could use BBCSO Core for most of the track, and then just have that dry sound, which is really intimate. It kind of makes you want to, come a little bit closer like this, or and then sit back a little bit when you've got that huge expanse of sound. So yeah, that's the reasoning. The reasoning is you want that for some elements. You want that really big sound, but then you also, for most of the track, actually, you want to use two together. One, it'll give you a bigger sound, but two, then the most important thing is you're adding that detail back in. And yeah, that is it. That is the whole point of this video, because something we often forget to do is we say, this is the library for me, and this is the library for me. And actually, big shout out to Alex Puffer. He has done an amazing video about how it doesn't matter. Use the tools that you have, and not to focus on the bad points, but to focus on the good points. Yeah. So for me, the good points. Thank you, Alex. Again, that was a really, really good video. And the good points are that for studio strings, that it's dry, it's really detailed, it is lush, especially the strings. Even though I'm using the Pro version, the core version of it as well is very, very good. It's just the fact that you've got first chairs that you can add in as well, which I didn't use in this. So it's pretty much just the stock as well. I haven't really changed mic positions or anything in it. And then in BBCSO, what you've got is you've got this lovely room tone, and everything works well together. Much better actually than the studio orchestra, because they did different parts of the orchestra at different times. Whereas BBCSO, you can hear there's bleed here, there, and everywhere. But yeah, so those are the good points. The bad points are it's a lot harder to mix dry libraries. Lots of composers, they say stay away from dry libraries. I say no, use them, but be aware that if you are going to use them, it's going to take you a lot longer. So that is why I mix. It's the happy medium, where the studio series, that took me about 8 hours just to add all the automation lines in and mix it well and whatnot, and make it sound good. And that's why it sounded great. I wanted to get the best sound that I got out of both of these. Where BBCSO, it took less than half the time. It took a maximum of 3 hours. And when you're talking, like composing the piece took about 2 or 3 hours, because I was scrapping things I didn't like and putting things in I did like. And then arranging the track, which it's a good 60, 70 tracks on each, that's an awful lot of work to do, especially when you're doing it twice. Yeah, so it's then it turned into a week's worth of work, roughly, for the studio series, but probably about half a week or a quarter of a week. I could probably got it done in 2 nights. Yeah, so those kind of things, they're very, very, very important. So I hope that's given you a little bit of insight, and when you're thinking about these things and different libraries which to get, those are some considerations, especially if you're working for somebody and you're on a tight deadline. If I'm on a tight deadline, I'm going to go to BBCSO and I'm going to supplement it with just a few things that I think are really, really good. And even then, if it's a really tight deadline, I'm not going to go orchestral at all. I'm going to keep it as simple as I can. I'm going to use pads everywhere. I'm going to use pianos that sound impressive. I'm going to use nice reverbs, and to fill out the sound. Whereas if I have got that time and I can just sit back and enjoy it, then I'm going to use a bit of a mix of both of these, and then lean into using some more drier libraries as well. So yeah, that is this video. I wanted it to be pretty short because there's 2 pieces that you had to listen to as well, but I hope that this has been really useful for you. And until next time, see you later. I'm going to do the wink, as I usually do, and take care.